Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast, your home for inspiring conversations with outdoor insiders. Each week, author, speaker, adventurer, and outdoor industry veteran Rick Saez talks in-depth with iconic brand founders, sales and marketing pros, product designers, and industry rising stars. Listen in when Rick's guests offer actionable advice to land your ideal industry gig and grow your outdoor career. Catch us again when the conversation shifts to the hottest outdoor products, destinations, and the latest industry insights. And now, here's Rick.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm speaking with one of the most influential outdoor photographers in the industry, Scott Markewitz. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. It's great to be here. And
yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you. I'm sure we've run into each other at the shows, but I don't think we've officially met, so it's good to connect with another pro photographer. I'm an aspiring photographer, never made much money at it, but it's a great hobby.
Yeah, that's a great way of making a living for sure. And yeah, the outdoor industry is small, so I'm sure somewhere along the way we've met in person. You meet so many people, you just never know. But
yeah,
it is a small world. There's only 1 or 2 degrees of separation.
That's a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
So let's start with how you were introduced to the outdoors and adventure.
For me, I think it's really my blood. My father's a famous skier, and even though I didn't grow up with him, I always followed his exploits and knew who he was and had skiing in my blood and always wanted to pursue that myself. So that was my stepping stone in was as a skier and becoming a professional skier, and then moving on to the other, from one side of the lens to the other, basically.
Right. How long were you a pro skier?
I was a freestyle skier, so I was a pro skier for 3 or 4 years, competing on the Pro Mogul Tour and then skiing in various ski movies and skiing for various photographers on the day. And so it was a natural stepping stone from there into being a photographer, basically moving from one side of the camera to the other.
When did you pick up your first camera?
I always had an interest in it growing up. I remember when I was really young, I had one of those box cameras
yeah,
and always enjoyed just shooting. But I guess my first SLR camera was probably just out of high school.
Oh, wow.
When I would take photos of friends and just, carry a camera with me just as a hobby and make prints and things like that. But that was my first camera. And then my first real pro camera, I think one summer I decided, one summer I decided I was going to move into this profession a little bit after spending a lot of time in front of the camera. I figured I had a pretty good eye for it.
Right.
And I thought it would be something fun to try and keep me skiing. So I bought a camera and started shooting, and then spent that winter kind of half being a pro skier and half being trying to start to shoot. And that was kind of how I got into this biz.
So tell us about your first outdoor commercial shoot. What was that like? Who was it for? Do you remember? You probably never forget that, right?
Yeah, well, actually, my first outdoor commercial shoot was for one of my ski sponsors, for Elan Skis. So at the time, I was skiing competitively for Elan and had a small portfolio of images. So I basically went to them and said, "Hey, here's some of my photos that I'm shooting myself." And they're like, "Oh, great! You want to shoot something for us?" So
cool.
It was a natural, progression because I already had my foot in the door and had good connections in the industry. It was a pretty easy move for me, fortunately. So that was. Like I said, having the connections in the outdoor industry and in the ski industry definitely helped me move up pretty quickly.
How about mainstream? How about your first mainstream commercial shoot? How did that come about?
That one, those take longer to develop. I had to develop my reputation as a photographer and really get a lot published and start to market myself. Trying to think what that was. My first one.
Or one of the first, maybe the first one.
One of the first one, was a shoot for Tag Heuer.
Okay.
And that was through my connections at Skiing Magazine. They were doing a partnership with Tag Heuer for, an advertising campaign. So they brought in, a couple pro skiers and pro snowboarders, and we did the shoot in Vail.
Oh, cool. And
had probably one of the first ones where it was very set up and very scripted, and we had briefs to work from and stylists and assistants and big crew, but it was fun. It was still ski-based, so it was still definitely in my wheelhouse, but it was a good, step to my first, mainstream commercial shoot. And I've done quite a few since then and definitely focused more on commercial work in recent years as well.
I was looking at your website. It's beautiful work, yeah. So I guess...
Thank you.
Yeah. The difference between a a mainstream commercial shoot and an outdoor shoot is probably all the production stuff that goes on behind the scenes, would you say? Or how are those really different?
Yeah, that's probably the main thing, that's main difference between a big time commercial shoot and an outdoor commercial shoot. A lot of the outdoor work I do, it's a company will send me some gear to photograph, and I'll line up some athletes or models, and we'll go out and shoot for a day or two. Or there might be a little bit higher level production. Someone from the company might come in and direct the shoot or be there with me and organize product. And, it might even be with their sponsored athletes. When you get into a mainstream commercial shoot, then you've got PAs and stylists, and
right.
I have a rep. So my rep will show up at some of those shoots, and it turns into a 15 to 20 person crew.
Wow.
And then you've got the client and the ad agency, and it's a big production to manage, but it's fun, and I enjoy those just for the different kind of challenge that you get with it. You have to be really organized and really on top of your game, and you can't really miss shots, because some of the mainstream commercial shoots are with big time professional athletes, and they have limited time, and the client's expecting a lot. Like one shoot I did for Puma Golf with Ricky Fowler and Lexi Thompson. They were also shooting a TV commercial the same day. So we basically had half a day. So we had 4 hours to shoot 25 outfit changes.
Wow.
So I had a PA there, and his only job was to manage a stopwatch and tell me when my time was up for each outfit.
Wow.
Which was basically like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Because with outfit I had 5 minutes to shoot, and then we had, say 5 minutes to change outfits.
Yeah.
Another 5 minutes for hair and makeup. So
it
was just this revolving door, and I'd set them up on the tee and have them shoot. I'd do a bunch of swings and fire away, and then the PA would be like, "Okay, you got 1 minute." And then luckily I had two athletes, so one was shooting, the other was getting ready, so it worked pretty well. But it was definitely a high-paced production.
Scramble, yeah.
I think I probably shot in 4 hours. I bet I 20,000 images.
Wow, yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Just constant motor drive.
And then you get to do you hand them off for editing, or do you have to edit them before you send them? Hand them off.
There's a DIT there, and I had an assistant handing me cameras, and then a DIT on set who was basically just cataloging the files according to product styles, basically. And then the agency would take them, and they would do all the editing and post production.
That's cool,
after the fact. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to edit that. I wouldn't want to edit that kind of production. It'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of work. Yeah. So before a shoot happens, do you have a recipe or an idea? I know you get direction from whoever the client is, but do you go through your mind on some of the things you want to do and have an idea? Tell us about the anatomy of a shoot. How does it go down?
My approach to almost every commercial shoot I do is to really understand, or try to understand, the brand and what they're trying to achieve and what their visual style is. And a lot of times they'll send a brief, which really helps. They'll put image examples of what they like, and or sometimes even what they don't like. So you have a really good visual direction. Whether that's the case or not, I always go into a shoot trying to look at it from the brand's side. What are they trying to achieve, and what kind of image is really going to suit them?
You look at a lot of their other stuff too. Look at their previous
look at a lot of their other. I study a brand beforehand and look at their images, look at their website, look at their catalogs, and just get a feel for what their style is, and whether it's going to be high action or a little more product focused, a little more lifestyle focused, even what kind of lighting and setups are going to work. If it's pretty dramatic or a little bit softer approach, just things like that, I think really help. Obviously, the client hires you for your vision, but I always like to adjust my vision to meet their brand style as well.
Yeah, they have a brand ethos they're trying to maintain, so you got to stick with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I see a pretty common thing that visual artists do, photographers and videographers, is they miss that point and they go into it just with their vision, give them what they want. And sometimes that's great because that's what you're hired for. But other times they miss the mark because they didn't consider what the brand wants, and they just went into it thinking what they like to do.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your bio says you've become one of the most influential outdoor photographers in the industry with a reputation as the go-to guy in the outdoor world. How did you develop that reputation? Just consistent work? That must be part of it.
Yeah. I think my work has shown, over the years, I've shown really consistent work and consistent results. Whenever I go into a shoot, no matter what the conditions, I always look at it like if the weather isn't great or the conditions aren't ideal, I always look at it, what can we achieve out of this shoot? Maybe the client wants great blue sky powder shots or perfect sunsets and it's cloudy, but there's always something you can do to create great images. And maybe you just have to pivot a little bit and shift your mindset and find something that's going to work. So I think with that attitude, you can always come back with something. It might not be what you initially were hoping for, but you can come out with great results in the end. And sometimes it just forces you to be more creative.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to be quick on your feet, right?
Yeah, you do have to be quick on your feet in many ways. But yeah, I'd say just having that mindset allows you to, instead of going into the shoot and thinking, oh, this isn't working because we didn't get A, B, and C the way we had hoped for, but it's okay. A, B, and C isn't working. What can we do for plan D?
Right.
And still make it work. So I think with that kind of mindset, you can be pretty consistent. Every time a client hires me, I've always come back with something. I feel it's been really rare that I had to come out of a shoot and be like, hey, sorry, I didn't really get much out of this.
You don't get a job from them the second time, probably.
Yeah, you don't get a call back when you do that. So you always got to go into a shoot like with the attitude that you're going to make it work somehow.
Yeah. So where does your inspiration come from?
For me, my inspiration definitely started in skiing, just my love for skiing and sports, but I just love being outside. And I think my inspiration as a photographer is to try to capture that feeling and that just love for outdoor sports and being out there. And I always try to approach my images trying to create authentic looking images to capture that real experience. Always try to stay away from the shots that are too posed or too set up and kind of lack that authenticity. And, just because of my experience as a skier and a biker and a trail runner, when I get out there, I really want to do it. And I want to show that through my photography as well.
That helps a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So talk to our listeners about the first great photo or photo shoot you took that set you on your path. Is there a one thing that really led to your career, or was it just a consistency over time?
Well, I think the moment that really stands out for me is, like I said, when I bought a camera and started shooting that first season, that summer, that's in the spring, I had a catalog of images and I sent them into, I think, Powder and maybe a couple other magazines. And then that summer, I actually went to Europe to coach a ski camp. I was,
cool.
One of the coaches. And I came back and I remember walking into a magazine shop. I was on the East Coast at the time, flew back into New York and was there for a little bit and walked into a magazine shop and did a double take because my photo was on the cover of Powder magazine.
Cool. Wow.
And I was like, that's a pretty good sign. Your first published photo is the cover of Powder. So
yeah, that's a good start.
I figured that was a good sign that I should probably keep pursuing this.
That's cool. And do you have any favorite activities or sports to photograph or people to photograph? What's been the most fun? Or what do you enjoy the most?
As far as people, I've worked with so many just incredible athletes, people that are just love what they do and are doing it at a super high level. And I've always really enjoyed that because one thing I've found, the athletes and the people that make this their living, whatever aspect that is, they're basically getting paid to do what they love. So
Exactly.
They're pretty fun people to hang out with, and they're having a good time. It's not like they hate their jobs and they're doing photos because they have to. They love it. And they're all very like-minded. So that's one aspect I really love. But as far as subjects I like to shoot, my background is skiing. Always love to shoot skiing. That's been first and foremost. I'm also a mountain biker and a trail runner and enjoy shooting that. But anything outdoors, getting out there, whether it's hiking, running, biking, or even just people outdoors doing active lifestyle. Yeah. For me, that's just fun. And, I'm super fortunate to be able to work outside and do this job and not being stuck inside in an office, all day. And so for me, that's really inspiring and motivates me to keep doing what I do because I do feel really fortunate and definitely love what I do.
That's very cool. How about the most challenging? The weather's always challenging.
The weather's always challenging for sure. And like I said, you have to learn to work around it. You can't do anything about the weather, so you got to adapt.
Yeah. Any times when you're in the middle of the shoot and you started and you realize, okay, we're going to start this, but we don't have all the outfits. So when are those other outfits arriving? Or the second?
I've had, there's all kinds of interesting challenges. I I did a footwear shoot once, and they had one shoe for each prototype or each sample. So I had to shoot people being active or pretending to be active with one shoe on their foot.
That must have been really tough.
So yeah, that took some creative adjustments for sure.
Wow.
But yeah, there's stuff like that where product doesn't come through as expected, size isn't right, and you have to pin it or do whatever, shoot from a certain angle so that you don't show the big rip in the side or something like that.
Yeah, there's no buttons on the jacket.
But weather, just cold temps and hot temps, and being out there for hours with little food and water, and just some of the adventure trips I've done, you go pretty hard, and you're out there for many days at a time. And once I did a mountain bike adventure. We mountain biked the Haute Route.
Oh, wow.
A version of the Haute Route from Chamonix to Zermatt.
Cool.
And on the first downhill, the first day, I went over the bars with my camera pack on and cracked my ribs.
Oh.
So I had to finish the rest of the ride with cracked ribs.
Jeez, that's painful too.
Yeah, it was painful. So I couldn't risk falling again. So I had to be super careful on the downhills, and I couldn't go uphill very hard because I couldn't breathe really hard. Right. So just things like that. That was a challenge.
That'd be really tough. Yeah, good for you for sticking with it. Holy cow!
Yeah, in the end it worked out, but you know, definitely threw a wrench in the whole plan.
Good story to tell your grandkids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember
that one time
when I was young, I cracked my ribs and kept going for days.
Come on, you can do this.
You can do it. But the only other challenge, one of the challenges was working with, every once in a while you get a difficult person to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you have to just adjust your attitude and try to get it done, and not get too wrapped up in their issues or whatever it is. But
it happens in daily life.
That's
right?
pretty rare. It does happen, and that definitely makes it challenging, especially if you're working with a crew, and it can bring the whole crew down, and you've got to be like, okay, guys, let's just get it done, keep our spirits up, and not let this difficult person bring the whole shoot down. In the end, you still got to deliver for the client.
Right. That's the end of that.
So that can be a challenge for sure.
Yeah. We're going to take a little break and give some love to our sponsor. Hey, do you love to read but don't always have the time to sit down with a good book? I'm the same, and sometimes I just feel like having someone else tell the story. Well, if you use Audible, then you know. If not, you're missing out. It's like having a library in your phone, and I use it a lot. Audible helps the miles fly by when I'm on the road as I'm enjoying great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get your free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from. Go to audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast and start your free 30-day trial with Audible today. And now back to the show. And how has COVID impacted your business? Probably not much travel, right?
Yeah, really. In the spring, unfortunately, when COVID hit, I had a bunch of ski work lined up for the spring, and that immediately went away.
Wow.
And then spring progressed into summer. Some of the outdoor work started coming back on, but it was all regional stuff we could drive to. Yeah, or like I live in Utah, so we did some stuff in California and Colorado and Montana, but it was all stuff we could drive to.
Yeah.
And then recently I've done a couple of air travel trips. I was just up in Alaska on a shoot, and I had to get tested beforehand, and we have our group, and we just stay super isolated and follow our protocols. So it's definitely, you have to just be more careful and do your best. You have to balance. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if we could just not have to go anywhere and stay isolated until this whole pandemic goes away or until the vaccine's widely distributed. But, we got to work. So you got to balance out the risk versus reward and try to still get the job done and minimize the risk by, if you can, drive. And definitely if you're working with a group, try to have everyone get tested beforehand and just to minimize all the risk factors, and then you can still get things done, I would say. But it definitely adds another layer of challenge to the whole job of being a photographer, for sure.
Anybody's job. It's
anybody's job.
Tough. It's been tough. Yeah.
People that can work remotely don't have as much of a challenge because they can just shift their office and they can work from home and get things done and stay in their little bubble. For what I do and other outdoor photographers, we have to. The one benefit is that working outside is less risky, and you can socially distance pretty well.
Yeah.
But you are working with different people, and you don't know what their what their
where they've been,
exactly,
where they've been,
who they've been associated with and stuff, and
that's tough.
Exposed to. So you definitely, there is some risk for sure, and so far so good. And
it's smart that you have a set of protocols to follow, and your team is pretty consistent, and you just, like you say, you just got to stick with what you do and manage it the best you can.
Yeah, that's all you can do, and hopefully the vaccine's going to come around relatively quickly, and it is effective, and then we can all get back to somewhat normal lives. Although I would say that life is definitely not going to go back to what it used to be, no matter what the new normal becomes. So
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into photography?
I would say one thing I've noticed, that when I got into it, you could make it as a photographer by just being a good, decent photographer. There were more outlets, like more editorial publications.
Yeah.
That's been a tough business.
That's shrinking. Man, crazy.
That's shrinking, and more clients willing to pay reasonable fees. There was the stock photography business was a viable way to make a living, and now I think there's just fewer avenues, and in general lower budgets and fewer magazines, and so there's fewer options. So I think if you're going to get into it, you really have to develop your skills and become an excellent photographer, not just a good photographer or videographer, for that matter.
Yeah.
I think you have to be really on top of your game. Try to develop your own vision. Don't just copy what's out there. Really think about what it is, why you want to be a photographer, and what it is you want to photograph, and really try to develop your skills to a high level, and try to find a niche that's going to work for you, because it is a challenging business, and definitely not getting any less challenging. That's for sure.
And continues to evolve and change. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say also, as a photographer, I think it's important to shoot photo and video, just to have that dual skills for sure. Because, and even, especially if you can develop good editing skills, I think that's important as well. But if you can have a good overall package you can offer to a client, that's definitely a bonus. And,
more options,
and I think also, I've definitely branched out into video the last several years. And one thing I've noticed about shooting video is that it's a different approach in shooting photography than shooting photos. Just a different way of looking at things. And I think the two complement each other really well. Like my photo background definitely helps my videography in terms of lighting and setup. And then videography is more about telling a story, so that helps my photo side, because I can approach photo projects more from a storytelling aspect in some ways. So the two definitely complement each other, and so I think it's important to be able to do both.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah. If you were able to hang a huge banner in the front of one of the trade shows, Outdoor Retailer or SIA or something, what would it say?
I don't know, actually. That's a good question, because the trade show to me is a bit of a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. It's I don't know that we'll ever go to one again, but...
Yeah, I don't know if there'll ever be a trade show, because maybe the banner should get out now while you can.
That's good. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, which is too bad, because I've always really enjoyed trade shows. It's an archaic way of doing business these days, but it was always a great way to network and connect with people and see old friends and connections in the outdoor world. And there was the ski show, the outdoor show, the bike show. Those were all trade shows that I went to regularly. And there's trade shows for there were trade shows for every industry.
Yeah.
So I think just for personal connections, and I think that's just a big side of doing business. And especially as a photographer, that's where a lot of my work would come from, just making those personal connections at the shows. I know I really miss that aspect of the whole industry, and it's
super
kind
fun.
of sad to see it go away. But I think I'd be surprised if any in-person trade shows really come back, especially on a national level. Maybe regional or smaller gatherings where just local reps and dealers can get together, something like that.
Or smaller, right?
Or brands are doing their own sort of dealer events, things like that. But I think the trade show, unfortunately, is a thing of the past.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? You must get outside and exercise a lot. Do you meditate or any of that kind of stuff?
I try to stretch, almost every day. Just a combination of stretching and yoga, and then exercise. I run and bike or ski pretty much 4 to 5 days a week all year round, depending on the season. I'll run in the winter if I only have an hour to get out of the office and do a quick run. I'll run, or and then get out ski tour, whatever I can do. Definitely, that's always been part of the reason I got into photography, is that it allows me to keep doing this stuff outside.
Right.
And so that's always been a big part of my life, is to make sure I set aside time to be able to get out and stay active, for sure. And also, I think as an outdoor and action sports adventure photographer, it's important to stay in shape and be able to get out there.
You got to be able to keep up with those athletes and the director of the shoot, right?
40-pound pack on your back, So, I have to stay in shape to do what I do, but it's also what I love to do. And it's important to set aside time to do that, not just get stuck into working all the time and sitting behind the computer editing photos. That'll make you old fast.
That's right. Yeah. Old and decrepit.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any favorite books or books you give as gifts?
I'm trying to think. I would say with our whole digital world, books have gotten less.
Yeah, it could be books on Kindle.
And,
I use my Kindle a lot. Yeah. Or Kindle on my iPad. Yeah.
Yeah. Not so much. I used to read a lot of just, I don't know, classic fiction works. And then I'd say growing up, one series I always liked to read was Carlos Castaneda. I always liked his books growing up, and I think that definitely influenced me.
Cool.
I don't know, one book I heard recently that I thought was really good was Trevor Noah's Born a Crime.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's really good. It was an audiobook, and he was reading it. I just enjoy him, so it was cool to hear him read it.
Yeah.
As far as books for gifts, I just try to pick a book that I think is gonna fit that person, whether it's some people are more into, history. Some people are more into real life experiences, and some people are more into
politics, whatever that thing is,
fantasy or politics or fiction, whatever. So I just kind of we buy books as gifts, but I don't go into with a set mindset on what I'm going to do. I just browse and think about the person I'm buying it for, and be like, oh, what looks interesting for them.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And obviously, political books these days are very popular.
All the rage.
I definitely read up on my political stuff.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to avoid that stuff. It makes me just too antsy, too agitated. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's important to stay up.
You have to. Yeah, you're right. You have to. Yeah. Do you have
know what's real and what's not real?
Yeah, that's getting harder too.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100? Something that you always have with you, or I don't know.
One thing I got, which seems not the most important piece of gear, is these Dakine Windstopper gloves.
Oh, interesting.
Someone gave me as a Christmas present, and I use them for trail running, for mountain biking. I just use them all the time, and they've held up really well. And they're just, for whatever reason, I always come back to these Windstopper gloves because they're light. I can put them over my mountain bike gloves if it's really cold, or I can wear them just normally because they're pretty warm as is. So I just find when the temps are a little colder, this pair of gloves is always with me for some reason. I was running with them yesterday, actually.
Oh, wow, cool. Well, we'll link
so that's kind of what made me think about those gloves. But I'm sure I have lots of other little items I use. But
oh yeah, we've all got a bunch of little gadgets that live in our pack. But gloves are I have a pair of gloves, not the kind, but same kind of thing. Love them. And Scott, you guys mentioned, I know your sponsor, F-Stop, has a coupon code or discount code that they have for people. How does that work?
Yeah, that's right. For the first 20 people who want to pick up a new pack, there's a 20% discount F-Stop is offering.
Cool.
And the way they can do that is contact me directly at my email, which is scott@scottmarkewitz.com. And then I can send them a code, which they can use on checkout on the F-Stop website.
Excellent.
And I think it's good for any F-Stop product. So it's pretty good discount, and the packs are awesome. I've been using them for quite a few years now, and they're amazing camera packs for working in the outdoors and just general camera use there.
Yeah, they look good. Awesome. I've been coveting a Loca for years.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, cool. Oh, your email will be in the show notes too, but I won't put the discount code in the show notes so we can keep that selective. But yeah, just contact Scott for that code, and you guys can get a nice new F-Stop pack and protect all your gear while you're out there doing all the crazy things you do in the backcountry or front country. As we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience or ask of our audience?
Off the top of my head, not specifically. Yeah, one thing just about what I do. I feel really fortunate to be able to do what I love to do, and to have made a career out of something that really just started out as a whim to something I'm like, oh, I think I'll give this a try. And
that's cool.
There's really more way just to keep me out skiing and doing something outdoors, and somehow turn it into a long-standing career and an incredible way of life. I feel really fortunate, and that's one message. If you can do what you love and make it work, I don't think there's a better way of living.
Yep, I agree. Yep. And if people want to follow up with you, where can they find you? Twitter, I'm sure you're on all the socials.
Yeah, Instagram's probably my main one.
Okay.
Scott Markewitz on Instagram.
Okay.
My website, scottmarkewitz.com. Markewitz Photo on Twitter. Scott Markewitz Photography on Facebook. But
cool.
Instagram's my main one. Check me out there. I'm not a super regular poster, but I get stuff on there once in a while and try to keep up on it and
perfect.
Keep people updated with what I'm up to. So
yeah, we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes. Yeah, awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you, Scott. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been good talking with you too, and look forward to seeing this show live.
Yeah, cool. I'll let you know when it drops.
Okay, awesome.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend about the show. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Saez.